In this video, I'm going to teach you how to use the EZApp Manager. EZApp is Worldwide's online application form product. Part of what makes EZApp so flexible is that it lets financial institutions create their own unique forms without programming knowledge and without having to wait for third-party developers to do the work. It provides control over content and over which applications are visible to the end user. New applications are created and old ones edited through our Oscar web portal. After logging into Oscar, click the Manage EZApp link in the Today section. This will bring you to the EZApp Manager. Before going any further, it's important to mention something. Throughout the EZApp Manager, you will see references to loans. In fact, EZApp was originally developed primarily with loan applications in mind. However, EZApp isn't limited to loan applications. Any kind of form application can be created, such as customer or member applications, surveys, and general inquiry forms. In a future user interface update, we plan to make this language a little bit clearer so users understand the full flexibility of EZApp. Along the top of the manager, you will find 4 menu items. Click any of them to see additional options. Starting on the left is Loan Maintenance. This is where you will create your new application or pick an old application that needs editing. The next item is Intro Page Maintenance. This is where you can modify or create custom text that will display on the front end of your EZApp. For instance, your initial greeting to visitors, and the text found on the footer section of the page. Second to the right, you will find Response Maintenance. Here you can write custom text that will appear as a response to actions taken by visitors. For instance, if you are using auto-approval, disapproval parameters, this is where you would write the text that displays for an approval or disapproval. Finally, on the right, we have Reports. This is where you will review applications submitted by your visitors and general statistics. Now that we have an overview of the menus, let's go back to Loan Maintenance and create our first application. Remember, even though this menu item is called Loan Maintenance, you are not limited to creating loan applications. Any application form that you want to build will be done so through this menu. To see the contents of the menu, click the file folder icon to the left of the Loan Maintenance title. This will display all of the applications that your institution has previously created. Below your loan list, you will see an option to add a new loan. This is the option you would select to create a new loan application. Here we see 4 previously created applications. Notice how 3 of the applications are labeled in red text, while Personal Loan is in dark blue. This means that Debt Consolidation, Recreational Vehicle, and User Survey are all inactive. They will not be displayed to your visitors on the front end of EZApp. Being labeled in blue text means the application is currently active and may be used by your visitors. Each application consists of a folder icon and the name of the application. Both of these elements do something different. Clicking on the application name brings up the general settings for that form. You can see the name box, which allows you to rename the application as you choose. Below that, you will see an option to activate or deactivate the application. Simply put, this is the setting that turns your form on or off. By default, a new application will be inactive. You should only activate a form once you are ready to test it and make it available to your visitors. Keep in mind that if you choose to edit the questions in an active application, EZApp will automatically deactivate it. This feature is designed to keep a visitor from starting a new form while you are in the process of modifying it. So remember to come back to the screen after you have performed your edits and change the active option to yes. After modifying the name or changing the activation status, click Submit to save your changes. Let's click back on the Loan Maintenance folder icon and expand the menu again. This time we're going to click the folder icon next to Personal Loan. This will expand the menu, displaying a list of all the application sections, and several more options beneath those. Each of the numbered items below the application name represents a page or section within the application. These sections allow you to break up the questions into subsets. For instance, the first page here is Personal Information. By clicking the folder icon, we can see the list of questions, which in this case have to do with the applicant's personal information: name, address, phone number, social security number, etc. By clicking on a question below the page name, you can then edit the details of the question. We'll go into more detail about the question options you see here in a moment. To return to the list of applications, pages, and questions, click on the folder icon next to Loan Maintenance. Notice that below the questions is a link to add a new question. This will allow you to add another question to your current page. If you are moving to another page and would like to hide the questions from the previous one, click the folder icon again to contract the list. You can also click on the name of the page instead of the icon to view a set of options specific to that page. Here you can update the name of your page or choose whether the page is visible in the application or not. The page order option uses a number to place the page in a sequence. Currently, the personal info page is the first to be displayed. However, if you want to make it the last page to be displayed, make it a number greater than the last page in your application. Currently, Purpose is the 7th and final in page order. Changing Personal Information's page order to 8 will cause it to be displayed after Purpose when filling out the application. It is then possible to renumber all the other pages if you would prefer to keep everything neat and tidy. It isn't necessary to have every number assigned to a page. As you can see here, our page numbering now starts at 2 and goes through 8. The pages will always display in numerical order, even if there are some numbers missing. You can also use 0 as the first number in your sequence. Now going back to editing the page, you can also change the marketing banner that displays on a certain page by selecting the radio button next to the appropriate image. The last option is called Linked to Question. This feature is not currently functional. In a future release, this will allow for conditional pages to only appear if a question is answered in a certain way. Remember to click the Submit button after you have finished changing these settings. Beneath the Add a New Page option, you will find Modify Decision. This can be used if you are allowing decisioning based on automatic credit report pools in EZApp. By clicking it, you will find customizable parameters for credit scores, low or high, the appropriate response, which we'll cover later, minimum history, letter score, and score adjustment. More information about these decisions can be found in our EZApp documentation. Next, we see an option to modify loan parameters. These options also impact approval, but do not rely on the automatic credit report pool. These parameters impact a loan application based on the answers provided in the actual application. We'll deal more with this later, and additional information can be found in our EZApp documentation. Finally, we have an option to modify the disclosure. The disclosure text can be customized for each application that you create, though more often than not, it may make sense to keep all of your applications uniform. Here you will find a text editor where you can either type your disclosure verbiage or copy and paste from a source document. When you first look at the text editor, it isn't possible to see if any text is currently written. In order to see the text, click the Edit Mode button here. You may receive a pop-up asking you to continue. Click OK to proceed. Now the text editor will display any text that has already been saved here. Or if no text has been entered, you'll see a blank white box suitable for typing or pasting into. You will notice in this example there is some HTML code inside brackets. These allow the user to format the appearance of words, making them bold or italicized, etc. However, it is not necessary to use these formatting controls. Once you have finished editing the text, click the Save button in the upper left corner of the editor. All areas inside the EZApp Manager that require large amounts of text editing use this same editor. As such, we won't spend much time on the intro page maintenance or response maintenance, since adding text to those areas uses the same process as modifying a disclosure. Now that we've seen the basic fundamentals of applications, pages, and questions, let's create a short application from scratch. Back under Loan Maintenance, let's click Add a New Loan. First, we will be asked to enter the name for the application. Let's make this as short but descriptive as possible, because the way this is entered is the way the visitor will see that application type listed when they are choosing a form to fill out. We'll call this Boat. Below that, we can choose whether or not to start with a template. Creating from a template can save a lot of time, especially if you're just trying to create a standard loan application. We currently have a template called Basic Loan App, which offers most standard questions found in a loan application. Selecting a template does much of the initial work for you, allowing you to customize, add, and remove content based on your specifics. For this example, let's select the Basic Loan App template and click Submit. Now when we return to the loan maintenance list, we will see a new application, Boat, labeled in red. This means the application has been created from a template, but it has not been activated. Now we can expand Boat and edit a page or a question or any of the modify options listed below it. But what if we want to develop a completely custom application? Let's click again on Add a New Loan. This time we'll create a simple application form called Short Loan. We'll leave Start from Template set to No, then we'll hit Submit. Now we can see another new loan in the list called Short Loan. We'll click the icon next to it and select Add a New Page. I'm going to enter the name of the first page as Personal Information. Leave Display set to Yes and enter an order number of 1. I'm going to select the first banner image which says Quick Loan Decisions as my marketing graphic. And remember, the Link to Question option isn't functional at this time, so we're going to leave it not linked. Click Submit and our first page is created. Now, back on the list, we're going to click our page and select Add a New Question. Here we can see our question parameters. The first thing we need to select is question type. This differentiates the format of questions that you might ask. I'll create one of each, that way you can see how each question type works. Before we do that though, I want to show you what some of the other fields are used for when creating a question. Some of these settings won't appear for every question type, but many will. I'm going to skip Decision field until the end of this page because it relates to another field we haven't covered yet. The Order field is just like the Page Order field we saw earlier. Your questions are ordered based on this number. So the first question is 1, the second is 2, the third is 3, and so forth. The text field is where you will put your question or label. So if the question we're asking for is first name, then this is where we would write that. I always add a colon to the end of a form question, but it's not necessary. Text color allows you to enter a hex code to change the color of the question text. Use the color picker icon next to the field to select a color if you don't have a hex code already. Leaving this blank will leave the font color black. Input max length allows you to override the length of the text box. Input size is similar, but it allows you to change the max length of the text that is being typed into the box. Input text color allows you to change the color of the text that is being typed into the box. Like text color above, you can use the color picker or a hex code to add this color. Now back to Decision field. This may be a little confusing because we use the word decision in a few different ways. This is unrelated to the Modify Decision setting in the Loan Maintenance menu. EZApp allows you to completely customize your application, but there are certain pieces of information that are required anytime an application is submitted. Those are first name, last name, address, city, state, zip, and social security number. These questions must be present, and the decision field must be used to identify them. When I create the first name field, I could name it anything I want to. I could call it name parentheses first. EZApp needs to know specifically that this is the first name field, regardless of what creative way I've come up with to ask the name. The only way to do this is to select the correct decision field that cross-references my custom name with the permanent field used in the database. So I've selected text input, and I'm going to select decision field first name. Then in the text box, I'll create my label, name parentheses first. Or it could just be first name, colon. Or it could be nombre in Spanish. Even in a non-English language, EZApp knows that this is the first name because our decision field reflects that. Now, let's take a look at question type. Plain text is technically not a question type. It's an option you can use when you want to add explanatory text to your page. For instance, you might put this above or below another question where it is helpful to explain to your user why they must answer a certain question. Text input is a question type that must be answered by filling in the blank. For instance, name or phone number would be a text input because the user has to type in an answer. Password is rarely used in these applications, and it might be better called text masking. It is similar to a text input field, but everything typed into it will be replaced with an asterisk, similar to how a password field masks the characters you type in. Date is a pre-formatted field designed to allow a standard US date format of month, day, and year. State will create a dropdown containing all of the US state abbreviations. Dropdown allows a question to be answered by selecting one from a list in a dropdown. Linked question is not a supported feature, but will play a greater role in future releases. Qualification will create a drop-down style list that allows you to pre-screen applicants based on their answers. For instance, our question could be, do you live in Orange County? Then we would provide a yes option in the first box and a no option in the second box. If our loan conditions require that the user be an Orange County resident, then only an answer of yes would be allowed to proceed. Adding a checkbox next to no will act as a disqualifying answer. Loan dropdown is an older feature which we are not currently supporting. This function may be enhanced in a future release. Now let's actually create our questions. Going back into short loan and our personal information page, we're going to add a question. And right off the bat, I'll go ahead and do a plain text, which again is just message information. We'll submit that one. That's order number 0. It could be 0 or 1, but that just means that it will be the very first one. Now we can see our question there. I'm going to add a new question. This one will be text input, and we're going to make our first decision field first name. By default, it added a 1 because our first question was 0. This one is 1, so it's going in numeric order. Let's be neat and tidy. I'm not going to mess with the text color or the input length or any of the other design features, but I am going down here to must be answered. Checking this will make it a required field. And I'm going to click submit. So our second question is there. Add a new question. We also will make this text input, and last name is our decision field because we need to have that. Order 2, so this will be our third question. This is also must be answered. Submit. Add a new question. This will be another text input. This will be address. This is another required decision field. We'll make that must be answered. Submit. I'm going to add another. This will be a text input, and it will be required field city. Must be answered. And we'll go ahead and make this one a color, just for the fun of it. We're going to change text color, which means that the label, city : will be a color. Let's make this a nice red. And I'm going to submit. Add a new question. This one is going to be, all the other ones we've created have been text inputs, but this one is going to be state. because we want a drop-down box that provides all the two-letter state abbreviations. And we're going to add our text label state. Must be answered. We also need to set the decision field on that to state. Add new question. Text input. We need a zip code. That is also a decision field, which is required. And we'll make that required, must be answered. We will also select must be a number. This basically forces the user to enter a number. If they enter letters or characters, it will not be accepted. And since there's no US zip code that is made up of letters or symbols, it must be a number. We'll submit that. And we are down to our last decision field, which is social. Decision field social. Everything below this other list here, identified fields, are not necessary. However, you can use these if you are creating a spouse name or loan amount or all these other things, because EZApp recognizes those values as well and creates a unique entry in the database for them. So if you're going to use customized labels, or if you're going to use the exact same verbiage, it doesn't matter. For these other fields, you might as well go ahead and use the decision fields for them. But we're going to do social security number. We're going to check social security number down at the bottom here. That will make sure that it's in the correct format. Whatever is typed must be 3 characters, then 2 characters, then 4 characters. The proper social security total of 9 characters. We could also select must be a number, but we don't really need to do that because social security number being checked is going to ensure that that is set correctly. And I'm also going to make this must be answered. This one will make the input text colored, and we will color it green. You can see I picked from the color picker, but it placed the hex code for the green that I picked into that box. If you happen to know a hex code that for a certain color that you like, you can just type it into this box yourself. Submit. All of our required questions, those are the questions with links to the decision field. Now we can start doing some of the other question types. So we no longer have to worry about these decision fields because we have made a question for each one of these 7 here. So now let's, we already mentioned password is basically text masking. There's really no reason to use this that I can think of, so we're going to skip over it. Date, we can use date of birth. Down here at the bottom you can see date is already checked. I'm going to make that must be answered. Submit. State we've already done. Drop down, this is a good one. We're going to make just something silly here. Favorite color. Each of these values that I'm typing in here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These will be values that are in a drop-down. So just like when we're looking at decision field here and we hit the drop-down, we have all these items listed. This is what we're creating. We're creating a customized version of that. So I'm going to fill these in with 5 colors. Now, we only have 5 spaces here. What if you wanted to create more options than just 5? Well, go ahead and submit this, and your question will be created. We can see that as question 9, favorite. If we click on it, our number of blank spaces has doubled. So now we can add another 5 colors. And you could do this multiple times. If you wanted to add 100 items, you could. You would just have to reload the page, save, and then reopen the page as many times as you need to get the spaces required. I think that's enough. We'll go ahead and leave this unchecked. Must be answered will be unchecked because this is kind of a pointless question. Submit. So now we have 9 questions. Let's go ahead and see if there's anything else here. Linked questions, we're going to skip this because it's a function that doesn't quite work at this point. That will be expanded on in a later enhancement. Qualification. Qualification is very similar to a drop-down question. In fact, that's what we're creating here. However, again, this is used when questioning the user on their qualifications. This is where we can determine whether or not someone can proceed with filling out the application. So we will say Orange County resident, question mark, yes, and no. In this case, my financial institution dictates that you must be a resident of Orange County in order to become a member or customer. So an answer of no should inform the person that they cannot continue to take out the loan or become a customer because they do not meet the requirements. So I'm going to check no. And as it says here, the checkbox is for the answer that will disqualify a person. And in this case, answering no will disqualify the person. We're going to say must be answered, and we're going to submit. So that's it. That's our little short questionnaire. Of course, we could add another page. We'll call this financial information. We're going to display it, yes. We're not going to hide this page. The order in this case will be 2 because the first page is currently order 1. And we're going to pick a banner. We're going to stick with the quick loan decisions, although we could choose something else. We could choose create the home of your dreams banner so that when you get to page 2, it's a different marketing banner than on the previous page. And then down here, link to question, we're going to leave not linked. Submit. So now we have 2 pages. We have personal information and financial information. And I'm just going to add 1 question so that we can demonstrate this properly. Question type, text input, what is your net worth? I know that's not a question that you would typically ask. I'm just coming up with an example here. Must be answered. We'll have that checked. And we will say must be a number. Submit. Now that we have our questions, let's make sure that we have a disclosure set up because we can't activate this application without a disclosure. Modify disclosure. We will check this button right here. Click OK on the pop-up. And here is our disclosure. This is a disclosure test. And I'm just going to copy and paste that a few times so that we have some actual verbiage in there when we go to look at this application. Now I'm going to click on the Save button. And finally, we have to set up a response. That is, once a person fills out an application and submits it, what message is returned to the user? letting them know your application has been successfully submitted. We'll get back to you within 24 hours. Some kind of message like that. To do that, we will go into Modify Decision, and even though we are not using the automatic approval disapproval in this particular application, we do use the screen to set up our response. So I'm going to leave all of the score information and range information defaulted, and I'm going to go down to the bottom where it says default response, and I'm going to look at the list. And I happen to know that there is a response created called submitted that relays that message that I just mentioned, that your application has been submitted, the credit union or the bank will get back to you soon. I'm going to go ahead and update that. You can see that, by the way, I only skimmed response maintenance, but if we go to response maintenance, click the file folder, we can see a list of all the responses that are currently available. You can create a new response with whatever language you would like to use, or you can look at the previously created one. We're going to click on Submitted, and we'll hit this button to display the text. Click OK. And this is the message. Your application has been submitted. Our financial institution will respond within 24 hours. Thank you. And this little P in brackets, that is a paragraph break. So it will create this blank space in between the first paragraph and thank you when it's displayed, just making the formatting of the text a little nicer to look at. I'm not going to change that, and I'm not going to hit save because I know that this is already saved. So now that we have everything we need, we have our decision set up, which is basically just there to provide the response. We have our disclosure set up. We're not worrying about loan parameters. We should be ready to activate this application. So I'm going to click back on short loan, the actual title, and where it says activate, I'm going to change that to yes and submit. And now we can see your loan was successfully updated. Now it's still showing in red. Usually I just need to refresh the page. I can do that by going in the menu hierarchy here. I'm just going to click on EZApp main, and that reloads the page for me. If I click the loan maintenance drop down, we now see short loan is in blue, not red. So our application is activated. So let's go look at it and make sure that it looks correct. Here we are in EZApp. So I am going to start a new loan. I'm going to start a new application. If I hit the drop down, I see short loan. Click that and click begin. And we can see our first page. And these are the questions that we created together. First name, last name, address, city. Remember, I made the city text red, so that is there. State, click the drop down, and we have our full list of states. Zip code, social security number. If I remember correctly, I made the input text colored here, I think green. 55599. Yep, and that came in green. Date of birth. And then favorite color, we have a list. I'm going to select blue, fill out the rest of it. Jason Snyder, 1, 2, 3, 4. Florida. And then our conditional question at the end here. This is our qualification question. Orange County resident, yes or no? I'm going to say yes, which should allow me to proceed. Actually, let's test it with saying no first. Save and continue. Problems qualifying. So we are notified that we do not qualify. However, there's something else that we should have set up, which is the response for qualification problems. That is one of the text items under disqualified. So intro page maintenance, disqualified. I have a feeling that that's blank, which means we have to set something up. So I'm going to go and edit the text, and it is blank. I'm just going to say, based on the answer to your questions, you are not qualified to apply. Simple, but it will work in this case. So I'm going to save that. I did make that change, but that I don't believe will deactivate our application. It didn't. It's still active. So now I'm going to go back and do this again. I'm going to go choose my loan. I'm actually going to see if I can continue editing the first one. Short loan. Orange County resident. The answer is no. I need to put my social back in. Date of birth. That is not my real date of birth. I am significantly older than that. Save and continue. And we now see the message, based on the answer to our questions, you are not qualified to apply. Let's go and do that one more time, and this time we'll answer yes. I am an Orange County resident. Save and continue. And that worked because we have been taken to the next page where I'm asked, what is your net worth? We'll just say 5. Save and continue. And we get to the review and submit page. So all the information that I've entered is visible here. And our disclosure, which if you recall, I just copied and pasted, this is a disclosure test over and over again, is showing there. I have read and accept the terms of the disclosure. Get a decision.